folks, this is Fat Guy Flies RC. Welcome to my RC channel. Today we're going to do just a basic, very basic overview of just what are these remote control planes, these foamy planes, these remote control planes that people like to fly, specifically electric. Okay? Well, it's very simple. You're taking a airplane that exists in real life, like this Cessna TTX, or you're taking a generated version of a real plane, or you're just making a model strictly out of imagination that, based upon the laws of aerodynamics and physics, should fly if you follow simple rules having to do with thrust, weight, and airflow. Okay? But this is an example of this is one of my smaller, this is a Hobby King Cessna TTX. This is an example of a small electric plane, our remote control plane. Now the basic components of a remote control plane is, first off, your transmitter and your receiver. Okay? Just as the name implies, transmitter, receiver. Okay? This is what controls your remote control aircraft. This is what receives the control or the signal from the transmitter to tell the airplane what to do. That's the receiver. It receives the signal. Now, that signal is sent to something called the receiver, and that is sent from the receiver. That signal sent through an electronic speed control. This is specifically for thrust, or to make the motor work. The electronic speed control, or otherwise called an ESC. The signal from the receiver goes into here by way of this cable, this little cable here, which plugs into the receiver. Receiver tells electronic speed controller to make the motor work. This is an electric motor. Has three wires hooks into the ESC. The ESC is hooked to the receiver. So all those things work in conjunction to make this motor spin, which makes, let me turn the motor on, which makes the prop move. See, this plane's already got everything in it. I'm going to turn the prop back off for safety. Alright. Well, you say, well, that's great. That makes the prop move. Okay. What makes the airplane change its altitude, or its focus, or its attitude, or its position? Well, that's by way of control surfaces. Okay. Right here is an aileron. I can tell my transmitter to move that aileron. Okay. These ailerons are what makes the plane go this way or this way. Okay? Now, this back here waving at you, that's the elevator. That's what makes the plane go up or go down. Up or down. Okay? And then this waving at you is the rudder. This is what makes the plane go right or left or yaw. Okay? So basically you've got this position, you've got up or down, you got right or left. Okay? And those three control how an airplane flies. And that applies to all airplane. If this was either this plane or the real size, 50-foot wingspan version, or whatever it is, size of the real plane, the laws are the same, the physics are the same. Okay? A real airplane is going to use its ailerons to turn, to bank right or left. It's also going to use its rudder to turn. It's also going to use its elevator to go up and down. Okay? The real plane, everything applies to the small electric planes. The physics are the same. And you say, well, that's all fine and dandy, but where's the gas at? Well, there is no gas. The fuel for an electric plane is called a LiPo, or I think it's lithium polymer battery, but we'll just call them LiPos. they store an incredible amount of energy in a very small package. This particular LiPo would be too big for this plane. The one I'd use in this one is actually a little bit smaller. But I've got one in there right now just to show you, you know, how cool. Let me turn the motor back on. My hand's far enough away. And if you look, see, I got things moving back and forth. If I was outside and the weather was good, I could fly this plane. Motor back off. And that's just the basic idea. The transmitter sends a signal to the receiver, and the receiver, through all the different components, tell the RC plane how to move, where to move, how fast and how slow. And that's just the simples of it. That's just a simple nomenclature of how a remote control aircraft works. Like I said, this is not for experienced guys. This video is just for basic people who, you know, how do remote control planes, how they work, and or RC planes, how they work. And this is for electrics. Now, the only difference between the nitro or the gas is that instead of an electronic speed controller, you'd have a carburetor. Okay, the receiver would make a little motor called a servo. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I was going to show you. These right here, see this little motor right here, this little black area? That's actually a motor, or a little electric motor, and that moves, they're called servos. And they move back and forth by way of a little metal rod here to make the control surfaces move. This is called a control horn, or actually this is a servo arm, this is a control horn, and this is the little connector rod or a clevis, a little clevis there. And that's what controls the movement. There's a little servo in here that's kind of hidden, and that's actually for flaps. And you see those things pull down on top of that wing there? See how that does? Those are called flaps. And another way of thinking of flaps is think of speed brakes. It's kind of like what that is. It's a speed brake, and they have different positions. And depending on how fast you're coming in, the weather, the wind, whatever, it can help slow your airplane down and make it landing a little bit easier. More of an advanced maneuver, but it's something that adds. But anyways, I'm hoping that explains the basics of how an RC plane works. And you're watching Fat Guy Flies RC, and I want to thank you for watching and tuning in. And a special thank you to my subscribers and my regular viewers. And I just really appreciate it. If you'll please subscribe and like it, I can keep bringing more planes like this to review and more of these tutorials for you. And I really appreciate it, folks. Thank you so much. Let me get up here and turn the camera off now. Bye, y'all.